everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Pride or Die. I am back with my normal co-host, Nick Bradley from the Detroiter, and I am David Pike from the Detroit Lions Forum. We're giving you quality Detroit Lions content here via Detroit Sports Nation that is exclusive to them. How you doing, Nick, on your vacation? Where you at right now?
Splendid. As you can tell, I'm not in the typical location. I'm currently just outside Detroit, Michigan, Troy, Michigan, at my parents' place, actually in the kitchen table I eat dinner on most nights as we speak. So I don't have the green screen, don't have the cool background, don't have the mic, don't have the normal camera. We're bare bonesing it, David, but you know what? The vacation, it's been so great being back in the mitten. Hasn't been a ton of football related news, definitely not with the Lions, but I'm just feeling good. I'm in the mood. I'm in the spirit. I'm in the mitten state. I was at the Tigers game downtown yesterday. I'm ready to talk a little Detroit.
Absolutely. From what I hear, the Tigers, they put a whooping on their opponent last night, so that must have been fun to watch.
Big time hit parade, contagious.
Always good. I love baseball. I played baseball growing up. This is actually my high school baseball jacket, and I love playing baseball. The only problem I have with it is watching it, because if it's a non-hitting game, it gets very boring very quickly.
Yeah.
But that's baseball. Let's talk football here.
Would like the game on today. A little slower.
Yeah.
Let's do some football though.
All right, so we're going to talk first and foremost about Jared Goff, but what we're going to talk about is specifically his old former head coach, because Sean McVay had an interview that finally made its way into the Detroit Lions media circles. And in the interview, Sean McVay specifically stated that he regrets how he handled the trade. Not that he regrets the trade itself, but that he regrets how he handled the trade. What are your thoughts on those comments? Do you think those comments are sincere, or do you think that he's just covering his butt for future use?
Yeah, covering his ass, no doubt about it. So when he says I feel bad about the way I handled the trade, what he means is he doesn't like that people are called him an asshole the way he handled it, where Goff was so great and he threw him under the bus before the season ended. Like halfway through those every few weeks we would hear about McVay or see a clip or he's just throwing Goff under the bus. He clearly didn't want him to be the QB, right? There was no plan Sean McVay had that ended with Jared Goff being that guy, which is fair enough. Like, it worked. They won a Super Bowl. So he was right, ultimately. But when he says, I feel bad the way I handled the trade, he just feels bad that he came off for it. He feels bad that everyone was like, oh, this McVay guy, that wasn't very cool what he did to Goff. And yeah, maybe he wants Stafford to step up going forward. He wants to clean up his reputation as far as that goes. I don't know. I think it's more so just like the PR, doesn't like looking like a meanie, one of those type deals. I think he's happy he made the deal and they won the Super Bowl.
What coach is going to be upset that he won a Super Bowl? Like, seriously, it's always nice to have that hardware on your finger. I agree with you for the most part. Obviously, McVay can pretty much say whatever he wants because he's been vindicated getting that Super Bowl win. But if there's one thing we all know, is that history has a funny way of either looking good or looking poorly on somebody. And I've said this before in personal conversations. I personally think that Sean McVay is a brilliant young coach, but I think he has very terrible people skills. Like, he comes off as arrogant, conceited, and that's the image that was spun how he handled the Jared Goff trade, because literally nobody was expecting that trade. Nobody was thinking that trade was going to happen because, again, a couple of years prior to that, Sean McVay said that he couldn't see any way that Jared Goff wasn't going to finish his career with the Rams. And then all of a sudden, as soon as that season was done, a couple of weeks later, boom, there's a trade. Matthew Stafford's now the quarterback of the Rams, and Jared Goff's the quarterback of the Lions. And it's like, what the thunder just happened here? We just got side-blinded. So it's, I think in this aspect, he's just trying to give his image a better look.
He's definitely got a little,
realistically,
like the smartest man in the room syndrome. It feels like he's got a little bit of that working.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we had a head coach that was like that, and Matt Patricia. The only thing is Sean McVay was actually able to win. Matt Patricia couldn't win anything.
I don't even want to say his name, to be honest with you. I'm in a good mood.
No, I get it. And I understand. It's just, for me, Sean McVay, I respect him as a head coach, but I just think he is a arrogant person. I don't like him as a person. I respect him as a coach.
That's the other thing, too. It's like, listen, you made the deal. You made the trade. I get it. You don't need to be Mr. Nice Guy. That's fine. Not everybody needs to be the nicest person in the world. That's okay. You made the right decision. Sure, Jared Goff was probably pissed about it. It was the right decision. You don't need to be like, oh, but I'm such a nice guy. I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. It's all right, Sean. Just own up to it. Own up to what you did. You knew what you did. Own up to it.
That's right. Take responsibility and move on. So, speaking of moving on, let's move into our next topic here. So, here's the thing. When you talk to Lions fans, there's two spectrums of Lions fans. You either have what would be considered the homers that are drinking all the Kool-Aid, or you have the skeptics that are completely negative and think, oh, it's SOL every year. However, though, the majority of Lions fans this year think that the Lions are going to win at least 3 division games, meaning against the Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, and the Packers. So my question is, do you think that this is possible? And if so, which 3 games do you think we win? How do you think we split the series with our division?
It's certainly possible. I don't know how anybody's a fan. Like, how are you a Lions fan if you take that question and go, three's not possible? Vikings and the Bears alone, like, you better beat the Bears twice. Vikings split with the Vikings, maybe. And then the Packers, it's tough for me to sit here and say we'll even beat the Packers once, to be honest, because again, Aaron Rodgers, last I checked, is still breathing. So as long as he's doing that, and as long as he lives somewhere in Wisconsin, I'm not going to feel super confident against the Packers. But I could see sweeping the Bears, one against the Vikings, vice versa, even taking all 4. Who knows? Like, neither of those teams, the Vikings and the Bears, like, we should beat those guys this year. For sure, the Bears. For sure, the Bears. Vikings, at least a split. I just don't see how anybody could go, no, they don't have a chance. We don't have a chance. We don't have a chance. Come on. Get out of here with that. I think 3, I think, is a fair number.
I totally agree, because the way I look at it is we should spank the Bears. Like, we should spank them repeatedly when we're playing them. It should just
Yeah.
be like taking candy from a baby, in my opinion. That's how bad the Bears are this year. The Vikings, again, I could see us winning both. It's going to be a little bit harder going into their place and winning. I think we have a better chance of winning on our own home turf, but I think we could split with the Vikings. Now, here's the thing. I could see us winning against the Packers only if we're at home and if Aaron Rodgers and the receiving core he has this year just does not find a way to get a groove going on. Because, again, no Devontae Adams. You've got 2 new rookie wide receivers that, from what we understand, have not had a whole lot of time to work with Aaron Rodgers yet. Plus, you've got decrepit Randall Cobb, and you've got injury-prone Sammy Watkins. So it's like, I'm not feeling as confident about Aaron Rodgers in that offense this year. Their defense, on the other hand, different story. Their defense is stacked and loaded from top to bottom. So could we pull off one against the Packers? Maybe. That would have to require a couple of circumstances, like last year when the Packers came to our home turf and they'd already secured the division. They didn't care. So it's like, hey, we'll start our starters for a half and then let them sit and rest. So as far as I'm concerned, it's possible, but I agree with you. I think it's much more plausible that we win both games against the Bears and either split or win 2 games against the Vikings and have a 3-3 record in the division or 4-2 record.
I agree. When Green Bay comes into Detroit, I'll be going into that game with the mindset of, all right, let's see it. Why not? Why not? I'm not going to be there raiding on the parade saying we don't have a chance. At Lambeau, don't feel great. And do they even win that game in Detroit? But I think they'll have a chance. They'll have a fighting chance. We'll see. They always got a fighting chance.
Yeah, again, it's not 20 years ago when, like, anytime the Lions played the Packers, you could almost chalk it up as a loss. Like, I remember when people said anytime the Lions went to Green Bay, there was no chance of us winning because we hadn't won there in 15, 20 years. And then finally we won a game and it was like, oh, that stigma's now been broken. Maybe we can win in Green Bay. Again, like I said earlier, I think it's better. Our odds are better winning in Detroit than going to Lambeau, especially the last week of the season when it's going to be bitterly cold playing out there because it's the frozen tundra. That's Aaron Rodgers' home turf. That's where he is at his best. So I would much rather play Aaron Rodgers.
We've talked on it quite a bit since we started the show, but I think the way the Lions will play this year, like the way I think about it and in my head, the way I see the season going, I think they'll be built to steal a couple of those games. Like, they'll be built to give those better teams a little bit more of a run. They'll be built to go out in the polar vortex and play Green Bay because all they should have to do is just, here, Jared, just hand it to DeAndre Swift and he'll get 3.5 yards every time. that's how I see them playing. That's how I think, are trying to play. So that style, I think, translates a little better than previously when it was Stafford and Megatron. It was like, unless they have a massive game, like it's probably not happening, where we don't need to rely on just one guy or just the QB and the one receiver. So we'll see. We'll see. We've all said it. I have high hopes for the Dolphins.
Very, very true. Very true. And we'll just have to wait and see, as they say. Again, I think the Lions are in a much better position this year, but until we actually see them put on the pads and start playing,
Always.
we're not going to know 100% for sure. So we'll see. Now, speaking about games, I'm going to actually go to the schedule at large. And I'm going to ask this question because when you talk to most Lions fans, every fan usually has a game or two that like they're really excited to watch, they really want to see. And then there's usually a game or two that they're like, no, I don't want to watch that game because we're going to get our butts handed to us. So I'll ask the question to you. What specific game are you looking most forward to watching or seeing the Lions play? And which one are you
That's a
not looking
great
forward to
question.
watching?
That's a great question. I'll start with the one I'm not looking forward to, and we just talked about it. That would be that last game at Lambeau Field, because it's the last game, because it's at Lambeau and it's the Packers. I don't know. Based on my lifetime of being a Lions fan, there's a good chance the Lions are not in a playoff spot going into Lambeau for that. There's a good chance I'm defeated. I'm a shell of a person going into that game. There's a good chance I watch the game like that. Like, I don't even want to see what's going on. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the Lions need that game to make the playoffs or whatever. But historically, last game of the season doesn't usually mean much. And if it's in Green Bay against Aaron Rodgers, yeah, I could miss that. I could sleep through that one. But the game I'm most excited for, I love Thanksgiving just because I think the like tradition, the uniforms. I don't know. I love the Thanksgiving game, but I know we talked about that on another episode. I'm looking forward to them playing the Cowboys in Dallas because it's the Cowboys, right? Everybody, the biggest brand. I want payback. I want payback for that wild card game. I want to destroy. I want to beat the Cowboys by 300 points. I want Dak Prescott to go 0 for 50 with 14 interceptions. I want to annihilate the Dallas Cowboys. I really do. I hope they just dismantle them. That's my number one looking forward to game. What about you?
I'll be honest, the game I'm not looking most forward to
Yeah.
is probably the Thanksgiving game against the Bills. And the reason why is because it's the Bills. It's Josh Allen. It's Stephon Diggs. Dude, I get it. Thanksgiving tradition. I love the tradition. I love being able to veg out in front of a television and eat turkey and cranberry sauce and stuffing and watch the Lions play football. But it's like, dude, I look at that game and I'm like, unless we bring our A game, that's going to be a massacre. Like, we're going to get stampeded over. So that's the one game I have a lot of like fear watching because I really want to hope the Lions win, but I have a funny feeling that it's the Bills. Until somebody proves me otherwise, they're a heavyweight power in the AFC, and I think that they're going to be Super Bowl favorites this year.
Rightfully
Like,
so.
I'm a little hesitant to watch that game. On the other hand, the one game I'm looking forward to most is actually week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. And here's the reason why. Most people take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles game and they're like, hey, that is a really good game. It's a real good test, a barometer, or so to speak, of where the Lions are at. Because if you haven't been paying attention, the Eagles have been making a lot of moves this offseason to shore up their roster, bring in more talent, and they actually look like they could compete for the whole division of the NFC East against the Cowboys, the Washington Commanders, so on and so forth. So I think that game is a really good one to watch because I think the Lions are going to be looking for revenge after the Halloween spanking we got last year, 44-6. And I think that this Lions team is going to learn from the lessons it learned last year, getting spanked in that aspect, but also the toughness, the grittiness, the competitiveness they showed. And they're going to come swinging out in their first game and like, listen, this is a whole new Detroit Lions right now. We're here to actually play to win. That's the game I'm really looking forward to see. Plus, on top of that, it's also Aiden Hutchinson's first game. You're going to get to see the rookies in their new uniforms going out there and actually playing Pro Bowl for the first time. It's not going to be preseason anymore.
Electric.
That's the game I'm looking most forward to.
Like starting off on with a W against a team like the Eagles, where you can beat those guys. you can beat those guys. That's going to be a fun one. I'm excited for that one too.
Oh, the place will be jumping. I guarantee you. Now, that's at
Hopefully.
the start. I don't know what it's going to be like at the end. It could be jumping even more, or it could be completely dead. That's how things roll in Detroit. So, again, and there's other games, of course, that I would love to watch, or I have like marked on my calendar. Again, like we've said on the show, I want us to see us go beat Matt Patricia with the New England Patriots, stomp his offense, if you want to even use that term, in New England. That would be a fun game to watch. Obviously, the Cowboys game, because now since I'm in Texas, I'm thinking about maybe going to Jerry World and watching that game actually in person. So there's a couple of games I'm really interested in seeing. That Eagles game to start this whole season off, as I say, start the domino effect.
Crucial game.
That's the one that I'm really most excited to see. Absolutely. All right, so we're now going to talk about something that's actually groundbreaking. It's news that just happened, and we're going to tie it in with another topic here. So, obviously, there's quite a lot of Lions fans out there that are not necessarily the biggest Jared Goff fans. We know this. We also know that some of them wanted us to draft a quarterback this year in the draft, or maybe trade for a quarterback. And as such, we're going to talk about two specific quarterbacks. The first one we're going to talk about is Deshaun Watson. And then we're going to talk about Baker Mayfield because, coincidentally enough, Baker Mayfield just got traded to the Carolina Panthers for a conditional 5th-round pick. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, how glad are you that Brad Holmes did not make that trade for Deshaun Watson?
Looks a lot better now. Both of these deals make Brad Holmes look even smarter than he did beforehand. I almost feel bad, to be honest with you, for Cleveland fans, because imagine when you make that trade and you don't know, if he does play the routes that they got, the Browns are going to be electric. This is the year. This is the time for them to make a run. And all of a sudden, it's like 2024, maybe. That's so brutal. How many first-round picks did they get? 4 or something? So many picks to give away.
They gave up 3 first-round picks, and I believe they also gave up a second and I think a 4th to go and get Deshaun Watson from the Texans. And they gave up everything to get Deshaun Watson. It looks like he's not even going to play this year.
Just burning another year off that contract, 1 year closer to having to shell out money to re-sign any of that. Like, brutal spot for the Browns. But we talked about Deshaun all throughout the summer and in the spring. Like, that was the risk you assume. You get an all-time QB, all-star quarterback. Obviously, they gave up a lot to get him. But then it was like, hey, maybe he'll play. Maybe he just won't play. So, short end of the stick for the Browns. Glad it's not the Lions, though, for once. Much rather have it be Cleveland.
I totally agree. Because here's the thing. When you talk about the Lions, at least for the last 20 years, they have almost always been the butt of everybody's jokes for making some of the most boneheaded decisions in the NFL. And for once, it's not the Lions. We were not the ones to bite that poisoned apple that is Deshaun Watson, giving up all that draft capital just so that way we could have a guy sit on the sideline that we just doled out $230 million guaranteed for. And you traded all that draft capital and dole out all that money, and he's just going to sit on the sideline, twiddling his thumbs, going, toot, 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 toot. So when I look at that, it's thank you, Brad Holmes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart that bleeds Honolulu blue and silver that you did not take that chance. Thank you for being that smart. Now, I'm also thankful that Brad Holmes did not decide to go after Baker Mayfield, who we just talked about, went to the Carolina Panthers, because there were a lot of fans that thought maybe we could swap Baker Mayfield for Jared Goff. And I was like, that is the most asininely stupid idea I've ever heard in my life. It's just dumb. Because think about it here. Nobody's going to really say Baker Mayfield's better than Jared Goff. At best, they're on the same playing field right now. Furthermore, if you take a look at the stats, Jared Goff actually played better than Baker Mayfield last year. And that was with a better supporting cast, because who did Jared Goff have to throw to most of the year? Khalil Raymond? Who did Baker Mayfield have to throw to? That's right. OBJ, Javaris Landry, you name them, he had them. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad that Baker Mayfield also didn't bite on the whole Baker Mayfield thing, because all Carolina had to do, in essence, was just trade a conditional 5th-round pick and pick up the remaining $8 million of his salary after Cleveland took out the first 10. So it's like, that's a pretty team-friendly deal, considering he's on his 5th year. It's almost
Carolina.
the Carolina
This could breed success. And then, worst case, who knows? They might just be thinking, we're going to ride with Darnold, but if Darnold goes down, we got a guy who's got plenty of experience, Baker Mayfield. If he's a backup or vice versa, Darnold the backup, that's like the best backup you could probably have in the league. I will say it's funny, like coming off the season in which it was not pretty for the Lions, where we are now, it's almost a blessing that it went so poorly, because who knows if the Lions would have won like 6, 7, 8 games last year. Who knows if when the Deshaun sweepstakes comes about, maybe they throw their hat in the ring because they think they're a little bit closer to competing than they were before. And it's nice that we are further away, because Brad Holmes probably goes, we need every draft pick we can get. We'll get a quarterback a little later down the road. We're a little more ready. Because it, like, hemorrhaging the future like that for a guy who knows if he'll play, like, that is, I could feel pain in my heart. And I have no affiliation with Cleveland. I can just feel it. I feel the anguish.
Cleveland has made this same mistake time after time. They've been making this mistake ever since Bernie Kosar left. Because think about it. How many first-round draft picks have they wasted on quarterbacks? You can literally go down a laundry list of quarterbacks that they have wasted first-round picks on. And now they wasted 3 more on Deshaun Watson. They didn't actually even draft anybody.
The rocky waters going after him.
Yeah, at the time, he already had 22 civil cases that were against him because of the allegations. And then after they traded for him, 2 more were added on to it. So he's got 24 cases that have come up against him. Granted, he's now settled 20 of them out of court. So whatever, that's fine. But the point of the matter is, it's like the Browns, like you said, they knew what they were getting into, and they said, screw it anyway. We'll go ahead and make the deal.
It's like, able to get that much off.
I'm glad you're so bold, because not me.
3 first-round picks and then some for that guy? That's great. That's magical by whoever runs the Texans front office. That's crazy that they got that.
I'll tell you how they got those three first-round picks.
Yeah.
They got it because of our trade with Jared Goff to the Rams. Because remember, when we traded Stafford, we got 2 first-rounders and a 3rd. Most people are going to want to say Sean Watson has more talent than Matthew Stafford, so he easily gets that 3rd first-round pick. That's how the Texans were able to do that. I guarantee you, had that Stafford Goff trade not happened, the compensation package would have been substantially lower.
That's what's crazy to me. If it was all equal, for sure, I get Stafford setting the bar for a younger, like you said, probably most people said more talented Deshaun. But you don't know. This guy's got issues right now. This guy's got things he's dealing with that may not allow him to play. Kind of wild.
I agree with you. It's just, for me, when I take a look at the whole situation for what it is, I like I've said to friends, I've said to other people, I just cannot fathom the thought process that went into the Browns management to think that this was a good idea. I just can't fathom it. And the worst part about it is the worst part about it is knowing that Bob Quinn is now in the management office for the Browns. Yeah, he's a senior assistant for the management office for the Cleveland Browns. So let that one tie into that decision there. It's like,
has nobody outside of Detroit heard of the Lions? What are you doing hiring these guys? Yeah.
I have no idea. I just know this. The Browns, they're in for rocky years before they can actually get back on their feet. And that's if Deshaun Watson can play. Yeah. Nope, not for us. And speaking of which, let's move into another rocky moment. We're going to talk about boxing here for a quick minute. And the reason we're going to talk about it is we're going to be talking about a former running back for the Lions, Adrian Peterson. there has been news that he has accepted an exhibition match for boxing against Le'Veon Bell. I got to ask you this. What do you think of this exhibition match? Do you think that this actually might be something entertaining to watch, or do you think it's all
I
like
don't
just
know.
puffed up kind of news? My second
First,
question
I'm
to
not
you,
a huge boxer.
who do you think wins in
I
this kind of
prefer
exhibition match?
UFC, MMA, and stuff. I feel like every time I've watched a boxing match, and typically they're the big ones, like Mayweather's fighting again, or McGregor Mayweather, or Canelo, whoever. Every time I watch a boxing match, my thought is the same. I walk away and I'm like, that was kind of fine. Like, whatever. I never really got that excited. I'm not like rushing with a high right now. It's like, all right, I guess I just spent an hour and a half watching boxing. So it doesn't really fire me up. It definitely doesn't fire me up when it's two guys who just were former NFL running backs. Now, AP played for Detroit a little bit, Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State guy. I got the Michigan State, right? So that there's a little connection there. That's right. But I still like, I don't care. I don't know. It's one of those things. If I'm at a bar or I'm at my friend's place,
Go
it's
light.
on. Sure, I'll sit and watch, but I'm not seeking it out. I don't know. And if I'll pick one, I'll pick AP just because that guy's a freak of nature. Tough to pick. A boxing league.
That's a good way to put it. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily in on it, but I'm definitely intrigued. I'm very much intrigued. I mean, you're talking about two of the most hard-hitting running backs that have ever played in the game, at least in the last 20-something years. AP, he would just bulldoze over people. And like you said, he's a freak of nature. The fact that he was able to do it as long as he did, as well as he did, that right there adds entertainment value to it. But I mean, Le'Veon Bell, he's got name power as well. So I'm intrigued to see how this episode of boxing between these two former NFL stars would actually pan itself out. Because listen, I don't know if they've ever squared off in a ring or if they've just thrown down fisticuffs and did like a street fight ever before in their life, but boxing and just fighting are not the same. There's technique, there's method to it. You have to know where to step. You have to know how to jab and do uppercuts and all this other nonsense.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's actually going to be a boxing fight or if it's just going to be two old guys going out in the ring and just trying to pummel each other's brains out. That's what I'm thinking. Which either way, there's entertainment value. But if it's a boxing match, that's not as fun. But if they're just going in there and just throwing haymakers on each other, now that I'd pay money to see. But I'll just say this. In my mind, if it's a battle like that, I think AP wins hands down because, again, he's bigger. And again, like you said, freak of nature. But again, he's a former Detroit Lion. I got to go with the former guy that played for us. Le'Veon Bell, I know you played for Michigan State. I know. Go Green, go White. But I go Lions first, baby. I'm sorry.
I feel like I know too much at this point kind of thing where I'm sure both of those guys are just getting like a free payday to show up for however long it is. So that I'm also like, these guys are just going to go make a quick stack of money and get out of there. That hates it for me a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I sincerely doubt they're going in there and they're going to be fighting like Rocky and Drago or Rocky and Apollo Creed. I sincerely doubt they're going to be trying to knock each other's brains out. But if that wound up being the case, then the entertainment value would be through the roof.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, did you watch this guy get his brains knocked out? No, show it to me. Oh, then starts getting like 1 million hits on YouTube a day or some nonsense. Oh, for sure. But with that, we have come to the end of our episode with Pride or Die. I'm so glad, Nick, that you came back. I'm glad you're enjoying your vacation. We'll be back with another episode here pretty shortly. But again, thank you for tuning in with us. And with that, Pride or Die, baby.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.